Welcome to the Scoop World Order Special Sunday Edition. We had a nice day yesterday on the Scoop. A couple of big nuggets, some big moves, some guys making moves. Nevada, tell us a little bit about what you've heard the first 2 days of shoulder pads, which were Friday and Saturday. What's some of the gleanings you've gotten from the wise men thus far?
Yeah, well, it's been a really interesting fall camp thus far. You've got a lot of young guys that are showing out. We've heard a lot about these young guys over the spring and the summer, and you got some veterans that are kind of coming up. You've got guys like Jerron Cage that are actually older guys who haven't had a chance for a number of different reasons to play, that are playing well and making plays and making an impact out there. Demario McCall, the guy that would just go back and fair catch the kickoff returns, is playing corner right now and actually doing a really good job. And it's been, from what we're hearing, he's getting some run. I wouldn't say he's a starter, but he's getting some run with the ones. He's out there playing a lot, and he's actually looking good at cornerback. This would be one of the more unlikely position changes that we've ever heard of. He's been a guy that's really been a surprise, and so many young guys to talk about, so much to talk about. But the big one was really, to me, that really stuck out is it appears that they may be doing some best 11 play on the offensive line and moving guys around on the offensive line to try to get their best 5 guys on the field at one time, regardless of position. And as we sit right now, that sounds like NPF moving from right tackle to left tackle, and Thayer Munford, the All-American left tackle, sliding to left guard. And that would, open up the right tackle spot for DeJuan Jones, Paris Johnson, playing right guard, and Harry Miller playing center. And, as an old offensive lineman, that would be a massive line. It's a massive change to move things from, it'd be like you moving Kirk from right tackle to left tackle. You're talking about kind of a historic change, but that we may see some of that come, when the kickoff comes against Minnesota, if they like it. But we're hearing more and more that those are the 5 best, and they're going to try to find some unique ways to get those 5 best guys on the line. So I thought that was an interesting takeaway.
Yeah, I think that's a humongous development. I mean, what I've heard is that Nick's been the best player at camp so far, regardless of position. Him and Garrett Wilson are kind of showing that crown right now. And, when a guy's playing at a really high level and, left tackle's the ultra premium position on the offensive line, it makes sense. And plus, I think that they're trying to, keep DeJuan engaged and reward him and give him a real chance to start, because it's frustrating when you're a kid like that and you're thinking Thayer is going to be in the NFL and at an NFL camp right now, and then he gets that super senior year and he comes back, and mentally I can only imagine what DeJuan felt like when he found out that the left tackle spot that he thought he would get the first crack at winning, when all of a sudden you get Thayer coming back as a preseason All-American and you're not going to beat him out. Well, Thayer, and give it a lot of credit to that kid, he is selfless. He's a great player. He's a great tackle. But in the NFL, you got to play guard too. I mean, unless you're, top 10, 15 pick, top 20 pick, man, those tackles, they got to be able to play guard. They got to be able to play left and right side. And I think that this is a tribute to him being smart and making a business decision to work on his versatility a little bit. If he has a great year at guard and he had a great year at tackle, then that adds to your value when you're up on an NFL game day. So I'm really looking forward to it. I'm happy for DeJuan. I think Josh Fryer is a really good player. I think Matt Jones is a very good player. And, seeing how that shakes out is going to be absolutely fascinating. Another interesting nugget that you had, talk a little bit about the new RUSHMEN package. I mean, that's going to be pretty ferocious from how you described it.
Yeah, they're trying to find ways to get JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer on the field, and but it's we had always talked about maybe those guys were opposite kind of bookend defensive ends, but it sounds more and more like you may stand up Jack on one side and JT maybe a defensive tackle in that RUSHMEN package. Maybe you put Haskell on the nose, try to get Haskell one-on-one, And, you have on the other side, you've got a Zach Harrison or you've got a Tyreek Smith coming off the edge there. So, no, I think it's really interesting the way that they're trying to, feature some of the young guys and get them, the best spot. But, clearly Jack Sawyer is a guy that we're all going to be keeping our eyes on. The more I watch him, the more you realize that you're watching something really special. You realize that he's got the top 5 of the draft type of ability, and he's going to hit the ground running here. He's been at Ohio State for a while, so it feels like he's a veteran, but he's only a true freshman, and we're going to get a chance to see him unleash it against Minnesota, and him coming off the edge is going to be something to see. I like seeing him from the stand-up spot coming off the edge hard.
Yeah, I'm like you during the doldrums of the spring and summer. I like to watch the spring game again and just kind of sit and take notes. And you see Jack get 4 sacks versus mostly Grant 2 tauntings and backup tackles, and you're like, well, is that going to translate? And I think it's going to. His hand usage will translate, his speed translates. He's gotten significantly bigger since the spring in terms of his bulk and muscle mass, so he can withstand going against some big tackles. Because as you know, and I know, we talked about Minnesota has an enormous offensive line, and their right tackle might be the biggest player we've ever gone against. And we went against them the last couple of years, but Jordan Falele is like 6'10", like 400 pounds, and I mean for 380. I mean, he's enormous, but he's going to be a special player. I'm excited to see how JTT does. So this week Nevada is when it gets real. They put the pads on, I believe Tuesday or Wednesday. So they have this acclimation period where they have to put a couple of days in just the shells, which are the little soft pillow pads. Then the last 2 days they put on actual shoulder pads, which is like what they play in on Saturday. And then they got to put the final part in where they have to put pants on, which is it's the knee pads and thigh pads and all that. And really, once you're in shells, I mean, it's basically full go. But once you put those little tiny knee and thigh pads in, then it really is go. What are you looking forward to hearing about this week as the physicality turns up?
Well, the running back position. You and I are both all in on Trey Henderson. We could not be more excited about what he has to bring. But that whole running back battle, to see what Mayan Williams can do, what Evan Pryor, who's been terrific the last couple of days, see what he can do when the bullets start flying, and Crowley and Teague. I'm going to be really watching the running backs to see who's kind of delivering it, because we know Trey's got feet, we know he's got speed, we know he's learning the positions, we know he can catch the ball. But let's see when it's full contact down to the ground. Let's see how he gets up and does it. But I'm really excited about watching the running backs play, because that's a position, a key position for us, especially with a young quarterback and a big quarterback derby going on, being the biggest quarterback derby we've ever had at Ohio State. But I think the running backs are going to be the key, because I know the wide receivers are going to hang. They're going to do a great job. I know that the offensive line is going to be first rate. The tight ends are going to be more than capable. Can we get those home runs out of the running back position to kind of take some of the pressure off those young QBs? So that's what I'm going to be watching.
Yeah, nothing beats having a home run hitter at running back. It was like when we played Michigan in 06 and 07, and Beanie Wells hits those long 50-yard plus runs, man. It makes your life. It's just it's a wonderful feeling when you see a guy just pulling away from the secondary, and you get to get off the field, and that you just scored 6, and you don't need it to be a 15-play drive. It could be a 2-play drive, because you have a guy who's got the talent and the speed to get away from guys. So that's what I think Trey Henderson brings more so than any other back we have, is he's got that extra gear to get away from the defenders. Personally, I'm excited to see who steps up as things get tougher, more physical. There's some guys that wilt as camp goes on. There's some guys that callous and harden up, and they play better and they get better and they're tough mentally. And camp sucks. I mean, camp is literally the worst time of the year for any football player. It's the worst. It's awful. And I think that when you when you are in the doldrums and you're in week 2 and you still got another 2 weeks to go, and you're getting up early every day and you feel terrible and you're at the building till late every day, it's brutal. But I'm excited to see, how the O-line continues to evolve. the funny thing you didn't even mention is Quinn Ewers is probably gonna be here on Thursday. So does he practice Thursday? Does he practice Friday? I mean, that's gonna be the elephant in the room is when, Q shows up and then all of a sudden you've got another 5-star in that room, and how do they work him in? Does he get reps on the first day? Does he go through individual the first day and just watch? I don't know. I mean, I imagine he'll be doing something. He'll be playing some sort of football, just doing 7-on-7 team drills. So that'll be something to watch for. And then we do I do very strongly feel that we have the best beat writing tandem in the world right now with Gerd and Tom Warren. Nevada, Veen, you're gonna hold it down and do a chat today at 5 o'clock for check-in. You down with that?
Absolutely. No, yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. We can chat about the OSU defense because we spent a lot of time talking about the OSU offense, but
Yeah.
the OSU defense we've got some question marks on, even though we've got some guys that are really playing well, some guys that are young guys that we can't wait to see, guys like Cody Simon that we've been banging the drum on that we're both convinced it's going to be an All-American at Ohio State before he leaves, but some real question marks on defense. I think I know we're going to be able to score this year. The question is, how are we going to get stops and how do you get stops against teams, that can run the ball? We've got an elite pass rushing unit, but how are we going to line up when we line up against, like you said, that 400-pound tackle and a really good running back, and they can run the ball right at you? How are we going to respond to that? And I think we've got some questions on defense, and that'll be fun to chat about today on the during check-in, and we can give some more updates during that time as well.
Yeah, and people that are familiar with hotel check-in days, it's become kind of its own phenomenon. Think, the red carpet at the Oscars or the Golden Globes, and these kids, they all wear funny shirts, or they all wear some. I'm sure like Haskell Garrett will be wearing his Impact by HG gear. You can bet your life on that. But these guys are all going to be wearing their gear, and it's kind of always a fun day where. Back before social media, this was a huge day because it was the first time that you'd see some of these kids in person. For a lot of the beat writers, like, when Mike DeAndrea walks up, a lot of these guys that are beat writers that aren't recruiting guys, they'd never seen him before. I mean, now with social media, it lessens it, but it's always a fun day. We're going to support Tom and Gerd while they're there. We're going to live stream it. First time in Ohio State history, we're going to live stream check-in day. So I am excited as excited can be. I think it's going to be great. And, look forward to seeing you on that chat. So for Nevadabuck, this is Kirk Barton. This has been the SWO. We will see you on the message boards.